once you have your business set up, the most important skill that you need to grow the business is AI systems that allowed businesses to implement a 4-day work week. The results have been drastic. Today, I'm going to show you the most important skill in growing a business. This is once you have your business set up, the most important skill that you need to grow the business is to create standard operating procedures so that not only you can do it better, but others can do it better. And today, I'm going to show you how to use artificial intelligence to do this at speed, to do this easier, to do this better. Come, let's learn.
Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to Amplify AI.
So in today's session, I have a plan for you. I'm going to talk about how I took a very, very complex task and made it into a standard operating procedure for the right people to follow. I'll show you exactly how I did that. I'll show you the example. I'm going to start with that. So that's how I'm going to start the session. Then I'm going to talk about how to structure your SOPs, where to keep them, how to store them, how to label them, and what is the best way to keep them. I'm going to talk about the different templates that you require and how you got to look at your standard operating procedures. There are 3 different types that you got to create inside when you're making your standard operating procedures. I'm going to talk about how to reverse engineer them. I'm going to talk about how to use the camcorder method. Shout out to Dan Martell, that's from his book, Buy Back Your Time. And then I'm going to finally show you how to own it and upgrade your SOPs if you already have them. All right, so let's start with the example. The first things first is, right, just to give you background. So for the last 13 years, we've been creating podcasts for some of the most famous people in the world. And since the last 3 years, we've been using AI to build systems and implementation and software for various companies to help them be more human in how they do business by using AI to do all the things that they don't really need to do. So chiropractors are allowed to just chiropractic, if that's a verb, and not worry about all the other admin stuff that comes around with it. How can we create and help coaches to just be good coaches? How do we help businesses to just deliver on the promises that they are making by using AI so that the humans can do better work? Could we create AI systems that allowed businesses to implement a 4-day work week for their whole team, as an example? So we've been doing that for the last 3 years, and we are going all in on software development. So we are at this position right now where we're creating standard operating procedures. So it is really important to show you how we're doing it, because it is very valuable for the hires that we're making and the results that we're getting as a result of kind of putting these together. So let's start. Now, some of the things in here might look a lot, but I want to show you what happened. What was happening was we needed to create a local private server. And for that to happen, we've obviously done it in the past, but we've not had a procedure to make sure it gets done. And it's a long procedure because it took a long time to set up and make sure that everything was getting done and all the things were being set up. So the goal is here on the right-hand side, you can see, is to have a whole bunch of containers up and running, which store N8N, Nginx, Portainer, Superbase, which is a database. And we need to be able to store this on a local server. So this is created inside Proxmox, which is a virtual environment. You don't have to worry about the details, but what I'm trying to get at is this is a particular complex task. And I'm going to show you the procedure that I use to, set up the SOPs to get this all up and running in this manner, where as a team, we have our own access to Nginx. Locally, we have our own access to N8N, which is free. We have our own access to Portainer, which shows all the containers and on the network and what is exactly in here. So we needed to be able to set this up in a way that someone else didn't have to go through the process of doing this all over again. So this took me I'd say about a day and a half to set up in its entirety. So I needed to make it easier for someone else in our team who was going to set up a virtual private server, whether it is locally or whether it is online, to make it easier for them to set it up, to create it all. If they ran into any issues like I did, they would have the answer straight away. So the ultimate goal was to have it like this. This is system 002 set up a virtual or a local private server. And this is all created by AI, by the way. I'm going to show you how I did that. But it kind of created the whole thing for me, which is why do we need this framework? Who is responsible for it? When is this framework due? And how long should it take? How long do we expect to complete it? And what are the main tasks involved? So ultimately, the goal is that the container list with all the containers looks like this. This is what complete looks like. And then what is required for it to work and what's the framework. So that's all put in. And then finally, it kind of broke it down into phases, and each phase has steps, including exact instructions and installation commands to get it all working. So this, like I said, complex, and there will be a whole bunch of things that happen. So what I did was I went into Claude. So there are three things that I've attached to this prompt inside Claude. And by the way, I've tried this on a few different places. I've tried this on Gemini. The results have been drastic. I tried this on Gemini, I tried this on Perplexity, I tried this on ChatGPT, and the best result I got was in Claude. So I'm just going to show you the Claude version. Now, I'm going to read the prompt out and I'm going to talk about what each one of these sections are, okay? So I got this working, but I want to create an SOP for someone else with no experience to complete. I shared with you some notes I captured along the way and the final container view to see what is running. Can you create a detailed SOP? Be accurate, make it easy to understand and execute. I have also attached the history of my console logs so that you can see what I did and in what order. Use the command logs as a rough guide to help you create a comprehensive SOP for someone to follow and execute. Look at my logs for things that might go wrong and are corrected. Ask me anything to clarify your thinking and understanding, and think this through step by step and give me your reasoning. Now, that's the prompt. I have attached to it my final container list. This is all the containers that what success or done looks like. So if you don't know, inside Linux, if you type history, it shows you a whole history of all the commands that you've run. So I've took that history and I exported it out to a command log list or txt list. So I've attached that here. And also any notes that I've taken along the way, I've just kind of attached these, and anything that came along, including instructions from other places, I've just put it into a text file and I've kind of given it. And the great thing is that I've actually used Claude Opus 4 for this, and I think that has made a huge difference because of how well that model operates. So then what it does is it takes that and does an amazing job, because what it says to me is that from the logs, it identified several critical issues that I faced, which I totally did. Like, it was not as simple and straightforward to just get it up and running and set up. And that's why I really wanted to have an SOP ready, so that if anyone, which people do this all the time, by the way, in a software development firm, this happens all the time. And now that we are so heavy into developing software, AI software for companies from the ground up, these procedures are so important. So I ran into these issues. The Docker Compose version was an issue. That is something that was not in the docs. So how I went and did that. And there were permission issues. So how to fix the file and the permission of those files. There was a missing Superbase env file, and how to copy from an example to the right file, the Docker configuration using Nginx, and the multiple N8N configuration attempts, because I kept struggling with getting it to all of the same container, all of the same network inside Docker. So then it took the whole thing through. It wrote purpose, prerequisites, and the different phases along with all the commands to run, which is so, like, literally that is what has landed up. It did a phenomenal job at not only taking my work, which is all the, the sequence of commands, because it was terminal, and they were all commands that I typed. It made it easy for me to copy and paste this and send it and say, hey, this is actually what I did. Can you write the SOP from my command and see what I ran? So it did a whole bunch of things, and it did some really good things as well, because in my system instructions, I ask for follow-up questions. So it gives me follow-up questions at the end of everything with a response. And then it said to me, what specific, actually, it asked me, should I answer any of these 5 questions? But I said, actually, what I'd like you to do is give me step-by-step instructions for creating a backup and restoration procedure, how to set up an SSL certificate, and how to create monitoring scripts. Then it went ahead and created this guide, which is obviously the next step that we've got to do on our local server to get monitoring, backups, and SSL set up. So this is the process. The idea that I want to show you is, how do you get this going? So in your business, there will be a couple of questions you might be having. You'll be like, hey, Ronsley, how do I store this? And this is not the first time, obviously, I'm creating this. If you didn't know, I did a Master of Software Engineering, and my research thesis was on process quality. So auditing software processes and companies and taking them to an ISO 9001 or CMMI accreditation. So this is the playbook for We Are Podcast, which is the other business that I've been running. And it's basically the systems, references, and templates. That's what SRT stands for. You have to look this up. So I want to give credit to the person who came up with systems, references, and templates, because it is from some great human being who's created that system, but I can't find the name. I'm so sorry. But it's quite simple to explain, but I just really wanted to give credit. So systems are processes that, get something done, like onboarding a new team member, editing an episode. These are all systems, all processes. References are something that don't change. These are the reference to something. So for example, here's a reference of the master list. Here's a reference of the 10 biggest mistakes that people make when they start a business podcast. And templates are quite simple. What are the templates? So here's a template for a guest email invite. Here's a template for a should I start a podcast live interview. Here's a template for a playbook. So the systems, references, and templates, this is the We Are Podcast one. But we've had to create the new one for Amplify AI. And again, they come into systems, references, and templates. It's like, what are the systems, what are the references, and what are the templates that the business needs to run? So that's the way you organize your systems, references, and templates and your SOPs. So that's how you set them up. And I have created little templates in here, so someone can come in and create a new system, a new reference, a new template. Now, you might be asking how, if I've already done it, what are the ways to sort of recreate it? One of the ways is obviously to retrace your steps. Now, in my case, I did not record the whole process. Like, if I had Zoom running and if I could record all the steps, then maybe that wouldn't have been easier, because I would have been narrating it out loud, right? It would just be capturing the screen, but there would be no way for the AI to know exactly what was happening, because the AI is not looking at the video, right? The AI is looking at a transcription and taking the transcription and then processing it. So for me, in my case, I used the history, and I said, okay, look at the history and see what I came up against. And this is what I was trying to do. These are all my notes. This is the history. This is what success looks like. Create me the SOP. But also in my project files, I have a template for what a good SOP looks like. So if I were you, I would do things like go into Perplexity. I've got a pro account. So Perplexity allows you to go and research a lot of things. And so does ChatGPT. So I would use those two places with search switched on, or agent switched on, or deep research switched on in ChatGPT. And inside Perplexity, I would sort of come into the research anything tab, hit that. And I'm showing you an example of other templates here. So research for me, product requirements definitions. So it's a PRD is a term for project requirements. So here's an example of me doing some research using Perplexity on PRD templates. Now, PRD are product requirement document, and it is a standard document that's required in general before you start a software development project. And so what I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, research for me PRD templates that I've worked and that others have used. Find at least 10 templates that have templates, and then based on what you find, create me a template that is best of all worlds for an agile software development project, be accurate and precise. So it went ahead and did, some research. Obviously, if you can look here on the side, you'll notice all the links to what it's looking at. So it's done a great job. And then it's broken down the sections as to what was in most of the PRDs, right? And then ultimately it came up with this, which is the alternate PRD. It has got executive summary, problem definition, open questions. And then it also said this. So I got this as an example. So I got this structure for Perplexity, right? It gave me this detailed outline of what the standard sections in a PRD are. Then I took that and I put that into ChatGPT. I had a conversation and said, hey, this is what we've created before. Have a look at these examples of previous companies that we've done PRDs for. This is our style and structure. Here is a new style and structure. I want to make sure that we're not missing anything. I've compared them both. I finally got an output. And then that output is what went into this, which is this template here. So it'll break down into executive summary, context, problem, user personas, goals, outcomes, and this whole detailed requirements with functions and user experience and so on. But not only is it broken down into a template, under each one of this, it actually outlines how to fill it out. This template has the what as well as the how. So I could easily download this document, this template, and go into the AI and say, hey, here's a new client that we have. Here's the requirements, or this is what they want. Can you create a detailed product requirements document based on this? So you go through the template and easily fill it out, which becomes so much easier to do. So those are templates. Now, there are different ways, and I highly recommend using Dan Martell's method of the camcorder method, which is do it for the last time and record it. Record your screen and talk through it. And now we've done a few of those. And let me show you what that looks like. So using the camcorder method and Loom, you are very well placed to create some beautiful SOPs. For example, these are some of the videos that obviously I've created. Some are watched, some are not. So here's a whole video as an example. Now we're hiring a new admin assistant or executive assistant for me. And I recorded a couple of videos a while ago on how to process my email. So I went through and I processed the email myself, and then I recorded it. But the great thing about Loom is on the right-hand side, if you have a Loom for AI, which, the normal account, I think this is the $10 a month account, if I'm right, you can just come in here and click create SOP or generate a document. And that's really useful because it's a very, very good tool and you can easily do that. So I highly recommend the camcorder method. Obviously, if you have things like what we've been doing here with the history, it's easier to show your work and then use that as an example. But the goal here is for you to create systems, references, and templates, SOPs for your company, for your business, so that others can do the work. But not only that, this is really useful because it doesn't have to be as detailed as I showed you. It can be as simple as a checklist. It can be, this is how I set up a landing page, and do this, do that, do this, do that. It's literally a checklist of things. And every time you set up a landing page, it's going to be so much easier for you to follow that because you're not having to think of the process and do the thing at the same time. Having any process written down, I promise you, is going to make the world of difference. You might think that it's harder just because you're not used to it, but I promise you, it's the number one thing you need to grow your business. This is how to use AI to write your SOPs and do it at speed and get it done the right way. This is Ronsley. I hope you join me for the next episode of Amplify AI. Until then, I hope you use AI to make your business more human. Much love.
Hey, AI Geek. Thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI geeks by going to amplifyais.com. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI geek. Until then, much love.